Special thanks to Thunderbird Perch for making this possible. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. Think about it. A new world awaits. You will own the water, thus control over the destiny of man. These are powerful words. They carry the weight of a prophecy, a stark warning from a time gone by that echoes with unsettling clarity in our world today. The statement creates a deep and immediate tension. It forces us to confront a simple, elemental truth we often overlook in our complex modern lives. Water is not merely a resource to be managed or a commodity to be traded. It is the very foundation of existence, the silent force that dictates the course of civilizations and the fate of every living thing. This ancient notion of water as power has taken on a new and urgent meaning in the 21st century. As we stand here today, on October 5th, 2025, that control is quietly shifting. It is moving from the hands of communities and nature into the circuits of a new and powerful force: artificial intelligence. The digital revolution, with its promise of a smarter, more connected world, carries a hidden cost. This cost is not measured in dollars or data, but in drops, gallons, and rivers. This is a story about that cost. It is a story about the unseen connection between the cloud that stores our photos and the clouds that bring the rain. The destiny of man, as the quote suggests, is inextricably linked to who holds the tap. We must understand this connection, for it is reshaping our planet in ways we are only just beginning to grasp. The struggle is no longer just between nations warring over a shared river or farmers competing with growing cities. A new, invisible user has entered the equation, one with a seemingly limitless thirst. This user is the vast network of data centers that power our digital lives, the engines of artificial intelligence. Their demand for water to cool their humming processors places a new and profound stress on a resource that is already becoming terrifyingly scarce. The control over human destiny has found a new technological form. The urgency of this situation is not born of panic, but of observation. It is a calm recognition of a gathering storm. We see the signs in drying riverbeds in communities facing shortages, and in the quiet, colossal consumption happening behind the walls of gleaming tech campuses. To ignore this is to risk waking up in a future where our most fundamental need is governed by algorithms and corporate balance sheets. We must look at the facts plainly. We must understand how our own bodies, our societies, and our newest technologies all depend on this simple, miraculous liquid. Only then can we truly appreciate what is at stake. To understand the power of water, we must first look inside ourselves. The human body, this intricate vessel of thought and feeling, is a world of water. Nearly 60% of our physical being is composed of it. It is the silent, tireless worker that makes life possible. Think of your own blood, the river of life that flows through you at this very moment. It is mostly water. The liquid part of your blood, the plasma, is over 90% water. It is this fluid medium that allows everything else to function, a transport system of unparalleled elegance and efficiency. Without it, life as we know it would simply cease to be. Floating within this watery plasma are the red blood cells, the tiny couriers responsible for a vital task. They carry precious oxygen from our lungs to every single cell in our body, from the tips of our toes to the intricate folds of our brain. This journey is only possible because water gives blood its fluidity. When a person becomes dehydrated, this internal river begins to slow and thicken. The heart, our steadfast pump, must work much harder to push the sludgy blood through our veins and arteries. It is a struggle against a growing resistance, a battle the body cannot win for long. The consequences of this internal drought are swift and severe. Cells deprived of their regular delivery of oxygen begin to suffocate. The kidneys, our masterful filtration system, cannot effectively remove waste products from the thickening blood, leading to a buildup of toxins. The brain, which is itself about 75% water, begins to falter. Confusion sets in, followed by fatigue, and eventually, the entire system begins to shut down. This is not a dramatic theory, it is simple, observable biology. Every breath is sponsored by water. Every heartbeat is sponsored by water. Every thought is sponsored by water. It is the solvent of life itself. So, when we speak of water, we are not speaking of something external to us. We are speaking of our very composition. The water in the river, the rain is the same water that becomes our blood, our tears. It is a continuous cycle that connects us directly to the planet. Understanding this profound biological truth is the first step toward grasping why control over water is control over life itself. It is not an abstract concept. It is a physical reality pulsing within each of us, a constant reminder that we are, in the most literal sense, creatures of water. When we look at our home from the cold expanse of space, we see a world of breathtaking blue. Oceans cover more than 70% of its surface. This image, however, paints a deceptive picture. It suggests a world overflowing with life-giving liquid, a planet where thirst should be an impossibility. But the reality on the ground, for billions of people, is tragically different. The great irony: most of this water is not available for us to drink or to grow our food. It is salt water, locked away in the seas. Only a tiny fraction of Earth's water is fresh water. Most of that is frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps, inaccessible to us. The water we can actually use, our rivers, our lakes, our accessible underground aquifers, accounts for less than 1% of the total. If all Earth's water fit into a large gallon jug, the usable freshwater for humanity would barely fill a single teaspoon. This is the precious supply all life on land depends on, and we are failing to protect it. Right now, according to the United Nations, more than 2 billion people lack safely managed drinking water at home. That is more than 1 in every 4 people. Around half the world's population experiences severe water scarcity for at least 1 month each year. These are not just statistics, they are real human stories. Children getting sick from contaminated streams, farmers watching their crops wither under a cloudless sky, communities locked in conflict over a dwindling well. The forecast is even more alarming. By 2025, projections suggest up to 2/3 of the world's population could be living in water-stressed conditions. This scarcity fuels hunger, disease, and instability. It erodes societies and steals futures. As our population grows and the climate changes, pressure on this tiny teaspoon of fresh water becomes unbearable. It is into this already dire situation that a new and powerful thirst has emerged. At the same time our world is growing thirstier, our machines have developed a powerful thirst of their own. The modern technological world, the world of instant communication, streaming movies, artificial intelligence runs on energy. But what is often forgotten is that it also runs on water. The vast, humming data centers that form the backbone of the internet power the complex calculations of AI and are immense factories of heat. Inside these windowless buildings, tens of thousands of computer processors work ceaselessly, generating an incredible amount of thermal energy. To prevent them from overheating and failing, they must be constantly cooled. Many of these cooling systems depend on water. They work much like the radiator in a car, circulating water to draw heat away from the hot microchips, then releasing that heat into the atmosphere through evaporation. The scale of this operation is staggering. A single large-scale data center, the kind operated by major tech giants, can consume millions of gallons of water every single day. To put that in perspective, one data center can use as much water as a small city. This water is drawn from local sources. Rivers, lakes, underground aquifers, the very same sources that supply water for homes, farms, local ecosystems. The rise of artificial intelligence is dramatically increasing this demand. Training a single AI model, like the ones that can write text or generate images, requires immense computational power. This process can consume hundreds of thousands of gallons of water for cooling. As AI becomes more integrated into our daily lives, from search engines to navigation apps, the cumulative water footprint is exploding. One recent study estimated that global AI-related water withdrawal could reach several billion cubic meters by the year 2027. That is a colossal volume of fresh water being diverted to serve our digital habits. This water use is often hidden from public view. We see the sleek interface of an application on our phone, but we do not see the massive industrial infrastructure and the gallons of evaporating water that make it possible. In some cooling systems, the water is used and then returned to its source, though often at a higher temperature, which can harm aquatic life. In many others, particularly in evaporative cooling towers, the clean, fresh water is lost forever into the atmosphere. It becomes part of the water cycle, yes, but it is removed from the local supply that people and nature depend on. The conflict over this precious resource becomes painfully clear when a large tech company decides to build a new data center in a region that is already dry. Imagine a small farming community in an arid valley. For generations, families have relied on a modest river and a shared underground aquifer. Their lives, their culture, their economy. Then, a global technology corporation arrives, promising jobs, investment, a connection to the modern digital economy. They build a massive, state-of-the-art data center on the edge of town. Suddenly, there is a new and powerful user drawing from the same limited source. The data center's cooling systems begin to pull millions of gallons of water from the aquifer. Slowly but surely, the local people start to feel the change. The water level in the town's wells begins to drop. Farmers find they have to drill deeper, at greater cost, to find enough water for their fields. In the driest months of the year, the river that once flowed reliably through the valley dwindles to a trickle. A tension begins to build, a quiet but profound conflict between the needs of the community and the needs of the machine. People start asking difficult questions. Who has the greater right to this water? The generations of families who have built their lives here, or the new corporation that needs it to cool its processors? The data center provides jobs, brings tax revenue to the town, which can fund schools and local services. But what good are new classrooms if the town's wells run dry? What good are new jobs if the farms that have sustained the community for a century can no longer operate? This is not a hypothetical scenario. It is a real dilemma playing out in communities around the world, from Arizona to Chile. The company might argue that its operations are vital for the global economy and that it is using the water efficiently. It might point to the prosperity it brings. But for the farmer watching his land turn to dust, or the family rationing water at home, these arguments can feel distant and hollow. They experience the trade-off in the most direct way possible. Their access to the most essential element of life is diminishing to power a digital world that can feel, a world away. It is a modern-day fable of two competing thirsts, where the needs of silicon and circuits are pitted against the needs of soil and people. Section 6. Water factories. A solution or a new form of control? In response to growing public concern and the very real risks to their operations, some technology companies are trying to find solutions. They know that relying on fresh drinking water in arid regions is not sustainable, either for the environment or for their public image. One innovative approach is the development of what are sometimes called water factories. These are advanced, on-site water treatment plants designed to recycle and reuse water for a data center's cooling needs. Instead of drawing precious fresh water from a river or an aquifer, they can take in municipal wastewater, the water that goes down our drains, toilets, and purify it. This process is a marvel of modern engineering. The wastewater is put through multiple stages of filtration and treatment, removing solids, contaminants, and bacteria until it is clean enough to be used in the sophisticated cooling systems. In some cases, the water can be recycled multiple times within the data center, drastically reducing the need to draw in new water. This approach can be a significant benefit to a local community. It reduces the strain on freshwater supplies and puts a resource that was once considered waste to productive use. It can seem like a perfect win-win solution. However, this technological fix introduces a new and more subtle issue. When a private corporation builds and operates the infrastructure to treat and manage a region's wastewater, it gains a significant degree of influence over a public utility. It becomes a key player in the local water system. The company now controls a vital piece of the water cycle, turning a public resource into a privately managed asset. This can shift the balance of power. Decisions about water allocation, treatment standards, and future infrastructure investments may now be influenced by corporate priorities rather than the public good. This raises a fundamental question. Is it wise to hand over the stewardship of our water systems to private entities whose primary goal is to maximize profit and ensure their own operational continuity? Section 7. The Water-Energy Nexus, an inseparable bond. The story of water and technology is not just about cooling. It is deeply entwined with another fundamental pillar of our civilization: energy. Water and energy are locked in a constant, intricate dance. We cannot have one without the other. This relationship, often called the water-energy nexus, is critical to understanding the true scale of the challenge we face. Many of the ways we generate electricity depend directly on water. The most obvious example is hydropower, where the immense force of falling water is used to spin turbines and generate power for millions. Dams, the rivers that feed them, are in essence enormous water-powered batteries. But the connection goes much further. Most thermal power plants rely on water, coal, natural gas, nuclear fission, and data centers, all for cooling. They boil water to create steam, which drives turbines. That steam must then be cooled and condensed back into water to complete the cycle efficiently. This process requires vast quantities of water, often drawn from nearby rivers, lakes. In this way, securing a stable energy supply often means securing a stable water supply first. The two are inseparable. This nexus is also shaping our energy future. As we search for cleaner alternatives to fossil fuels, water remains a key player. For instance, the production of green hydrogen, a promising clean fuel, is most commonly achieved through electrolysis, using electricity to split water molecules into hydrogen-oxygen. While the hydrogen itself burns cleanly, producing it at a massive scale would require enormous amounts of fresh water. The pursuit of a carbon-free energy grid could therefore place an entirely new and different kind of demand on our already stressed water resources. This deep physical link means that companies and governments that control energy infrastructure often find themselves de facto managers of water resources as well. When an energy company builds a new power plant, it must also plan for its water needs. This may involve building pipelines, digging wells, or negotiating rights to a river. In doing so, they are not just building an energy project. They are re-engineering the local hydrology. Control over the grid becomes intertwined with control over the watershed. This concentration of power, linking the light switch in our homes to the water level in a distant reservoir, is a defining feature of our modern world. Section 8. The ultimate control: water over energy. This brings us to a crucial question. As private entities gain more influence over energy systems and over water systems, which form of control is more dangerous? Which one holds more power over the destiny of humanity? For much of modern history, energy control was seen as the ultimate lever of power. Nations and corporations that controlled oil and gas could shape global politics. They could fuel economies. They could determine victors of conflicts. Energy gives us the ability to do work. It lets us build cities. It powers industries. It lights up the night. Without energy, modern society grinds to a halt. Control over energy is undeniably powerful. It dictates our capacity for action. It shapes our economic prosperity. It drives technological progress. It can determine who has access to modern tools and who is left in the dark. But control over water is more fundamental, more elemental. A lack of energy might stop machines. A lack of water stops life itself. You can survive weeks without electricity. You can survive only days without water. Water cannot be substituted or replaced. It is absolute. Consider this. Without water, many energy systems would fail. Hydropower dams would be useless. Thermal power plants would overheat and shut down. Hydrogen fuel production would be impossible. Water is the prerequisite. Even if the energy grid went dark, water would still flow in rivers. Water would still fall as rain. Water would still sustain life in the wild. Energy is a tool that enhances human life. Water is the substance that constitutes it. Therefore, control of water is control of the most basic decision: who gets to live, who eats, whose community thrives, whose community turns to dust. The true risk is not choosing one over the other. It's the convergence of both. Tech companies building data centers consume vast amounts of energy. They also consume vast amounts of water. In doing so, they consolidate control over both resources simultaneously. They become the arbiters of a new hierarchy of needs. Operational demands of global digital infrastructure can be prioritized over biological needs of local populations. The choice a town faces between the promise of digital-age jobs and the certainty of a flowing well is the sharp end of this new power. It is here that the old warning is made real. Section 9. A choice for our destiny. We are not powerless in the face of this challenge. The future is not yet written, and the path we take is still a matter of choice. The knowledge of this growing thirst, this hidden cost of our digital world, is not a cause for despair, but a call to reflection, and more importantly, a call to action. We have the ingenuity and the capacity to design a future where technology serves human needs without threatening our most vital resource. This begins with a commitment to smarter, more responsible design. Data centers do not have to be so thirsty. They can be built to use closed-loop cooling systems or be located in colder climates where air cooling is more efficient. Beyond better design, we need stronger rules and public oversight. Governments have a crucial role to play in protecting the public trust. They can mandate transparent water use audits for all large industrial consumers. They can establish clear limits on water withdrawal in water-scarce regions and ensure that the needs of communities and ecosystems are given legal priority. The public must have a clear and powerful voice in any decision that affects their shared water sources. These resources belong to everyone, and decisions about their use cannot be made behind the closed doors of a corporate boardroom. There is also a hopeful note in the power of innovation. The same technological drive that created this problem can also help to solve it. Researchers are developing more energy-efficient computer chips that generate less heat. Engineers are creating novel cooling systems that dramatically reduce water consumption. And companies can be pushed, through public pressure and smart regulation, to become true stewards of the environments they operate in. They can invest in local water conservation projects and share their water treatment technologies to benefit the entire community, turning a potential conflict into a partnership. In the end, it comes back to a simple question we must ask ourselves: what kind of future do we wish to build? Do we want a world where the most essential elements of life, like water, are controlled by private interests, their allocation determined by market forces and computational needs? Or will we choose to build systems that recognize water as a shared heritage, a fundamental human right to be managed fairly and protected for all? The answer to this question will determine more than just the future of technology. It will determine the destiny of our species. The choice for now is still ours to make.